man, who do you have coming out of the AFC? Can you think about which ones you got coming out of AFC?
Oh man, okay, so running it back, I think the AFC East, I had the Bills winning that division. I had the Cincinnati Bengals for the North. For the South, I got Jacksonville. For the West, I got Kansas City. Wild card teams, I think I had the Chargers, the Jets, and my Steelers. Coming out of the AFC, I have to give it to Cincinnati. I think the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, unfortunately.
Me too.
What? Me too. All right.
I'm with you all the way with all of those.
Yeah.
As far as the NFC, we just picked NFC South, and I got the Panthers going. I've got the San Francisco 49ers going. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. I've got the Detroit Lions winning the NFC North. I've got the Seattle Seahawks as a wild card. I've got who else did I have? Definitely not the Rams. God, I don't want to say the Cowboys. No, I think it's going to be another team in the. It might be the Cowboys. Okay, I'm stuck. I got two more, but I think the Cowboys are going to probably be one of them.
Yeah, I had those four winning the division, and my wild cards. I do believe I had Dallas, Minnesota, and the Seahawks.
Yep. That's who it was. I forgot about Minnesota. Super Bowl predictions. You got Cincinnati on one side. Who you got coming out of the NFC?
I'm gonna shake the dice with San Francisco.
It's a good shake. I got it, and I think that Cincinnati is going to pull it off.
Yeah,
Bengals fans. I think they will. I just think they have more firepower at the end of the day. I love Shanahan, but I think the Bengals are going to definitely pull this one out. So,
I'm gonna go with my man Copeland just to go the opposite and say that San Fran's going to take it. So we'll see at the end of the year.
A little blast in the past. Welcome everybody to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host Brian Parker, along with my co-host Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
Looks like I'm doing a little slimmer, bro. My face is a little slimmer than that take about a year ago. I like it.
Yeah, hey, first and foremost, everybody, thank you for joining in for our. Oh my gosh, Ryan Young is watching, and so is Robbie Jenkins, and I can only imagine why. Yeah. Robbie hit me up to let me know that he would probably be at work. And he probably is at work, but could not let the opportunity pass because apparently you picked San Francisco.
Yeah, and you know what? I was expecting the paragraph from Robbie all day long because he likes to write in true paragraph or short story form when
he wanted to wait until this game. Until this show.
I guess he wanted to do it live. Robbie, congratulations. You got me this year. I think it's the first year, maybe the second year in the whole history of primetime that he's actually outdone me. So Congrats on it, brother. I got no excuses. You got me on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But on a different note, before we get started, man, I have to get this out here. On a serious note, Kansas City, praying for the people out in Kansas City right now. I literally had to pull over to the side of the road and send some texts and some messages to my folks out in KC. I don't have no relatives, but I got some good friends out there. It is absolutely ridiculous when you can't go to a Super Bowl celebration without somebody pulling out a damn gun and firing and killing people. You got people now that went to a celebration for their football team that won't be coming home, and I think that's just bullshit, man. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
So just didn't want to be a damper, but that needed to be said.
No, definitely, absolutely. So it is crazy how people just and my politics show is always on Thursdays in case folks want to join that, but we just have to figure out what we're going to do about guns, and I don't want to hear any more things about mental health and stuff like that. I mean, guns and this and guns and that. God, we got a gun problem. I mean, it was somebody sits there and gets in a bunch of car accidents because they drink alcohol. You don't blame it on the car. You don't blame it on anything else but the person, the alcohol, and the person. So we have a gun problem, y'all. We need to address the gun problem. But absolutely glad that you said that. Robbie said thank you. So if you appreciated the humility and all of that and everything, and that is good. We definitely are wrapping up season 4. Man, hard to believe, but season 4 of Head to Head Sports. Season 5 ran. I kind of got it beginning in July. Typically, it would begin on July the 17th, but I got a little problem with that. Is it July the 17th? I'm sorry. Or is it August? I'm sorry, not July, not July. I'm sorry. August the 14th. My head screwed up. August the 14th would normally be that 4-week countdown into the regular season, as the regular season will begin on September the 8th this year. Actually, that'll be the Sunday. The actual season begins on September the 5th, that Thursday, with the Thursday night game. Have a little scheduling conflict because I will actually be on a cruise ship on that day, coming back from the 9th through the 15th. What I wanted to do was start it on the 7th, skip the week of the 14th, and then hit those next 3 consecutive weeks to finish out the divisions. The only other way I could have done it was delay it a week, but then that first week we'd have to cover 2 conferences instead of 1. But I like the 4-team format each week to kind of have a deeper dive into it. So I'm kind of looking at just starting it a week early, breaking that 1 week up while we're on the cruise, and then when we come back, finish the other 3 weeks.
Sounds good. All good. You know me. I'll be here for it. Just let me know.
All right.
And I remember the one year where we debuted, and I couldn't even be here for the debut. Got stuck. You remember that?
Yep.
The show, the debut of the show. I think it was season 2.
Uh-huh.
The debut by yourself, but yeah.
Things like that happen, y'all. But but we've been around for 4 years doing it. So man, funny how time flies with it. But we normally do good. I wanted to play that little clip of our preseason picks because it reminded me of so many things. The optimism that we had for the Carolina Panthers, and not the optimism that they would win 12 games or anything like that. But it was what we had said before is that in the NFC South, you didn't have to be spectacular. You just needed to be mediocre, and mediocre would be good enough to win that division. You had I edited out of that clip because it was painful. Because after we gave our predictions, I said, I got one final question, Coach of the Year, and you went with Frank Reich. I didn't want to do it to you. I didn't want to do it to you. But you said Frank Reich, and I was like, damn.
Man.
Like, that ain't aged well at all.
Yeah. That didn't even make the whole year.
Woo! Hell, you might have actually sat there and jinxed the man.
I might have put a curse on him.
Oh, my God. You said Frank Reich. I was like, no, edit. I cut it out for you. I ain't want to play that.
Yeah, thank God. I would have lost all kinds of credibility in the water cooler for that one, man. For real.
Oh my
You know what? I think I'm gonna debut for season 5.
What's that?
I'm gonna talk to you about getting a little background like you got. So
okay.
Yeah. We're gonna do that for season 5.
Okay, that's cool. But it was interesting to kind of see. I mean, I know we had a lot of where we were with certain teams. We got a lot of teams right, whether it was Dallas getting in, but Dallas actually won the division. Um, uh, we didn't get Green Bay. We thought the Jets were going to be something, but who knew that as soon as we did the show that 4 plays the next day, Aaron Rodgers would be down after the 4th play. So many things changed from when we did that show. That show was done on September the 6th.
Yeah. And we don't have that looking glass, man, to be able to tell an injury like that happening. There's just no way. And injuries will change a season. Imagine if Mahomes had gone down like in week 2 or week 3, that would have changed everything for Kansas City. So all we could do is our best with the information in front of us at the time. Of course, I was riding Minnesota at the time, but I did not realize that they would not have Cousins for the whole year practically. That changed everything.
It sure did.
So that dropped them out of the hunt and allowed the Packers to come up and take their spot. Things like that just happen, especially with Cincinnati. Burrow being out changed the whole North.
That was one of the biggest surprises because picking Cincinnati to go to the AFC Championship game was really based on Burrow taking the next step with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, having those guys there, them running the ball like they'd been doing, being a complete team. Definitely saw them on the up and up. Saw Aaron Rodgers being able to make some noise with the Jets. We even had picked Jacksonville to win the AFC South. And then out of the blue, here comes damn Houston doing their thing. So many. Who thought CJ Stroud was going to come in as a rookie and do what he did?
Nobody. Ain't nobody done that since Cam.
Right. I mean, we pretty much got Detroit with the NFC North. That was pretty stable. We got the 49ers. We did get the Chiefs winning their division, but it was more or less, okay, Buffalo, if this is your year, if the window hasn't closed, then you got to show that you can beat Patrick Mahomes when it counts.
Can't do it.
He can. It's like Mahomes is green of kryptonite when he comes around. He can't do it for one reason or another. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, so many. It's fun though to kind of look at that and realize, man. But it's always good to be able to see some of those ones and just go, okay, I wasn't too far off. We totally got the NFC South wrong. We had Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay last.
Once again with that optimism, man, all the free agents that Carolina signed, I thought that was going to come into factor. I thought the offensive line would be well.
They seem like more of a complete team. We thought that defense was going to be even hungry. All of that, and it just didn't happen.
Two things about the Carolina Panthers that really derailed their season that we really didn't talk about is they lost both of their guards. They lost Brady Christensen on the left side for like the whole year. And then, of course, they got back Corbett after an ACL injury after he was on IR for the first 4 weeks. But then he goes and he misses the whole rest of the season after only being there for 2 weeks. So they really had a revolving door at both guard positions, and that just played a bad factor in the whole deficiency of the offensive line.
So got some comments. Anthony, great question. I don't have an answer. If this was the same time last year, I would have easily said one thing, but I can't say it anymore. He says, so who wins the NFC East next year? Because the same team doesn't win it back to back. We know the Cowboys eked it out this past year. I know this is what I can say with confidence, Anthony. It will not be the Giants, and it will not be the Commanders.
Yeah, I can pretty much confidently say that too.
Oh, now depending on how the Commanders pick, will they be competitive? They can be, but will they have enough to win? No. And I'm gonna tell you why. As much as I hate Dallas, I hate the Cowboys. Just as much like the Ravens, they are a team that's currently built to have regular season success. It doesn't translate into anything in the playoffs, but you cannot deny that a team that has gone back to back to back seasons of 12 wins is a formidable team. Yes, do they front load their schedule with cupcakes and things like that? Yes. But do those wins against those cupcakes help you win the division? Yes. So,
Yeah,
and unfortunately, sometimes the other teams in the NFC East are on that list of cupcakes. So, yeah,
definitely. Just like right now, I mean, the Cowboys are the most stable team out of that whole daggone
agreed.
division. I mean, even the Eagles, they got talent, but they're losing talent. As we sit here today, AJ Brown is requesting to be traded. You got Hassan Reddick, who's requested a trade, or he says he didn't request a trade. The team is saying that he requested a trade, but regardless of the situation, they want him gone. So who knows what the Eagles are going to look like next year? And they were not performing well down the stretch this year. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
you got the
Last
Commanders
on
that'll be
the field,
Commanders will be starting over at quarterback.
yeah,
The Giants, who knows what they're going to do with Saquon Barkley and everything. So yeah, Dallas will bring back the most stable team in the
yeah.
whole division.
I mean, right now, currently, even though they did win, you know, uh, a trend is a trend until it isn't. So, is it a trend that teams don't win the NFC East back to back? Yes, until it isn't.
Yeah,
So, does Dallas have the best chance currently built to be the team to do it for the first time in a while? Absolutely. They're the front runners for sure. Now, a lot of things can happen in the offseason. That now the one thing unfortunately with Dallas is they don't do a lot of changes in the offseason. They're a draft built team.
yeah,
They're not going to go heavy into the free agency market. They're just not going to do it. That's not who Jerry Jones is. So until the funeral, the day after the funeral, you can pretty much expect that status quo is status quo when it comes to the Cowboys. They're not going to sit there and look to do a lot of offseason moves. They're going to wait for the draft.
yeah. And they've been drafting very well. I
They do.
can't take that away from them. They really have.
They do.
Which is the other thing to factor in. And when it comes to what you were saying about a trend being a trend until it isn't, I remember them saying the same thing about the NFC South. No
Mm-hmm.
team wins the NFC South 2 times in a row. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
Bucks just did it. They just did it.
Yep.
Did it last year, did it this year. So
Yep.
it's a trend till it ain't, man.
Yep, it's a trend till it ain't. So it's and then Anthony followed up random statement as a Washington fan. I don't want to end up like the Panthers. Well, damn, okay. tread lightly. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to end up like the Panthers thinking Caleb Williams is the number one pick, but Jaden Daniels is the overall better quarterback.
Wow, that's a good one. That is a good one, man, because the debate is actually between Caleb Williams and Drake May right now in Washington. But that's an excellent,
Really?
excellent point. Yeah. Yep.
I don't would they really go with another North Carolina quarterback?
I think they would with this one. This one has the size, this one has the athleticism, and this one has the arm
Yeah.
all over Sam Howell. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Anthony. I mean, the Panthers went with the same thing, trying to decide. The Panthers and the whole NFL as a whole pretty much figured last year whether you go with Young or Stroud, both were quote unquote can't miss. Whose career was going to end up better? Well, that would have to kind of play out. But as far as day one picks at the draft, they both were looked at as 1 and 1A, can't miss. That's why they were drafted right in order that way. That's why the Panthers sat there and moved from 9 to 1 because they wanted to be the one to have that overall pick. I mean, make no mistake, if the Panthers had the second pick, they would have picked C.J. Stroud without even a question. So I totally get your point on that, Anthony. Robbie said, like I said, that you don't bet against my homie in the playoffs. Robbie, I will believe that forever now. This is the same thing that I said about Brady. that even when, and I remember saying last week that I called the game 34-17. I ain't gonna lie. I said San Francisco is gonna blow them out the damn water because, and you know why? Because, and I said, Rand, because I trust San Francisco's receivers more than Kansas City's. I said that are you going to have to depend on MVS? I forgot about McCole Hardman and and them those guys, but I'm like, are you going to depend on these guys that have been dropping the balls all year, letting Patrick Mahomes down in a lot of different scenarios? Yes, we know what Pacheco and to a extent Edwards-Helaire can do on the ground for you. We know what Kelsey is, but the game is going to come down. You know, they call Patrick Holmes the Michael Jordan. Well, Michael Jordan had to have a B.J. Armstrong and a John Paxson and a Steve Kerr. That's what those other receivers are to me. Pippen is your Kelsey. But a lot of times when the game was on the line, he didn't kick it out to Pippen. He had to kick it out to one of those other guys. Well, Mahomes, those other guys hadn't been doing what they should have been doing throughout the season. In the playoffs, MVS came up with some big plays. In the playoffs, McCole Hardman came up with some big plays. Was that going to translate to the Super Bowl? I wasn't really sure about that. Went with the sure thing to say, man, I know what Brandon Ayuk can do. I know what George Kittle can do. You know, I know what Christian McCaffrey can do. I know what Deebo Samuel can do. It just seemed to me like, hey, they had all the pieces ready to go in that game. But at the end of the day, you let Patrick Mahomes hang in this game with 1 minute and 53 seconds left at your own peril. We've seen what the man can do in 35 seconds. You gave him 1 minute and 53.
Yeah. And I see Anthony just made one of the strongest points. I mean, Anthony's on fire today. Let me just come out and say that. Anthony's on fire today. He made the best point of the whole daggone Super Bowl.
He did.
That game changed the moment Greenlaw went down. When he came out of the game, his replacement was roasted as far as coverage, and they went right at him. The completion percentage was 100%. He gave up 9 out of 9 completions.
Damn.
Yeah. So that whole game changed when that man went down. And it just sucks. It just sucks. He's injury-free the whole daggone year, and his Achilles decides to blow at that moment.
And that was like the most flukiest injury. He was just getting ready to trot back in, and his leg gave out.
Yeah, just something that simple, which means that, you know, it would have happened during the game at some point, but that was just freaky, man.
That's real freaky.
Just unfortunate as all hell, because like I said, and like Anthony made a point of, that whole game changed at that point.
It did. And that is a good observation once that happened. And then Anthony said, so who was Dennis Rodman on Kansas City? Well,
So,
I'll be honest. It was the defense.
Specifically, I'm going to say Jones, because he was the one in the middle doing all that dirty work and the heavy lifting, and it made a huge daggone difference. He blew up the middle, and once the middle's blown up, everything else outside of it becomes affected.
Exactly. Because you're not going to go there. Now you're going to run plays away from that, and that almost kills you because McCaffrey is dynamic between the tackles as he is on the edges as well. And you can't sit there and get that kind of penetration like that. It's almost like having a guy that can take one side of the field away from you or one aspect of your game away from you, and you're almost playing with one hand tied behind your back. That really had a lot to do with it too. All in all, Rand, it started out a little slow, but I thought it was a pretty good Super Bowl. I mean, they both had opportunities. It was a low-scoring game to begin with. My biggest takeaway is that Brock Purdy did enough to win a regular season game. He did not do enough to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I have to give it to Kansas City's defense. I mean, them boys are just nasty. And like I said, especially with Jones up the middle, destroying everything. Couldn't get Christian McCaffrey off. They completely shut Kittle out of the whole game. Just
Yeah, he
took
was
him
done.
out of it.
He was gone
He was a non-factor.
at all.
So it just became a situation where it was their young quarterback against two wide receivers out there.
Yep.
And they had trouble moving the ball because of that.
Well, but that's really what I mean is that Purdy played a pretty good game. It was good enough that on most days it would have been good enough to win. But when you're playing against a guy like Mahomes, and look, your defense gave you plenty of opportunities, which let me just stop this right now and say this. The reason that San Francisco even had a chance in that game was because of their defense. The fact that the defensive coordinator is fired after 1 year on the job is now okay. I will admit I probably got some bias in this because Steve Wilkes went to my high school, so he he was in my alma mater. And he is a local charlatan, Hidden Valley's finest. Um, so maybe there is a little bit of bias there. But the reason that San Francisco was in that game to begin with was they he used a lot of calls early on to confuse the living hell out of Patrick Mahomes. Lured him into a damn pick. Um, Played a lot of man that he disguised as cover two, which gave the or zone, which gave the illusion that guys were a little bit more open than they actually were. He did a really good job of that. He really confused. When I say confused Mahomes, he really did. The first half of that game, it looked like Wilkes was in Patrick Mahomes' mind. He did a hell of a job. Uh, there were some lapses from the defense, but overall, he kept dialing it up. They were aggressive against him. That defense has nothing to hang their heads on. I think he did a good job. I was a little um, taken back to find out that Shanahan decided after a year he had seen enough with Steve Wilkes. But I can guarantee you this: Steve Wilkes will be on the roster next year for sure, doing something.
Yeah, Wilkes did an excellent job in that Super Bowl, and he was like limiting Patrick Mahomes. Kansas City couldn't get anything on the ground either because that 49er defense was everywhere.
Yeah.
But like we said, when Greenlaw went out the game, things changed, started loosening up. Is
Mhm.
that Steve Wilkes' fault that his best linebacker gets injured? No, it's not his fault, man. So when Shanahan, I get the news today about Wilkes being fired. I was like, hold up, what? So I had to like do some digging, and Shanahan, he he explains it as a difference in scheme. Like he's not going to be really on the same page with Steve Wilkes moving forward. So he's going to go ahead and do the firing now to give Steve Wilkes another opportunity somewhere else in the league. Maybe it's some of that. What more of it, I think, is to try to deflect some of the heat off of Shanahan's own ass.
Yeah.
This is the third time in a
Yep.
Super Bowl
Yep.
that Shanahan, has blown a double-digit lead. And if we sitting here talking about it online know about it, you best believe the San Francisco front office knows about it.
Make no sense. I mean, you could. Well, why didn't you fire the offensive coordinator that could only give you 22 points?
Yeah, not about to do that. He's got some hand in the offense, so he ain't about to do that.
I mean, McCaffrey was your leading rusher and your leading receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, hello, you got. I mean, did Steve Wilkes have anything to do with Kittle being shut out? Did he have anything to do with Debo not getting a whole lot of receptions? Debo Samuel rushed 3 times for 8 yards. Debo Samuel caught 3 passes for 33 yards. What Steve Wilkes got to do with that? What Steve Wilkes got to do with Brandon Ayuk catching 3 balls for 49 yards? Ray McLeod having to get a muff punt that went off somebody's foot. What do you have to do with Christian McCaffrey fumbling? What did he have to do with the other fumble?
Exactly right. He had nothing to do with none of that you just
None of
named.
that.
And he limited one of the best offenses. Well, I won't say that, but he did limit one of the best, if not the best, passer in the game in the first half before the Greenlaw injury.
Yeah.
So yeah, him being fired is ridiculous in my mind.
He was dialing it up. He was in Mahomes' head.
Yeah. And it was his defense that got them there in the first place. They rode that all year long.
Yeah.
So in order for him to be talking about fired, it's like, what are we talking about? I don't understand that. But like I said, Anthony has been on fire tonight, and he continues with his next comment, which was a scapegoat. And that's what I believe it is. Scapegoat for real, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, I saw Chase Young being more active than I've seen him in a while. Chase Young was doing his thing. Randy Gregory was doing his thing. Kinlaw was doing his thing. Hargrave was doing his thing. I was just like, these guys are playing. Bosa, Fred Warner. You expect what they bring to the table, but it was some of these other guys that were coming up with play after play after play, tackling guys for tackle for losses, where he's getting the ball out on the flat and they can't make the first guy miss, and everybody just Warner was just crazy. Warner was everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of crazy for me to see that. But I agree with the whole scapegoat thing. But I mean, we see coaches do that. It kind of reminds me when Matt Rule said, "Okay, I'll fire Joe Brady and try to take some of the pressure off of me," and y'all still didn't do nothing. It was like, okay, we fired the guy you said was a problem, and you're still the same problem. So
yeah. And I'm expecting to see the same next year. I don't think San Francisco's defense is all of a sudden going to get better now that this man is gone.
No.
Like I said, this is the third time in the Super Bowl that Shanahan has blown a double-digit lead. Did it first time in San Francisco, what was it, 2020 against the same Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City, they lost 31-20.
Yep. And then they did it again with the famous 28-3 Atlanta thing when he was the offensive coordinator there. So yeah, he's trying to take the heat off of himself, man.
Oh, no doubt. But if the same result follows you everywhere you go, and the defensive coordinator is different every single time,
yeah. What's the common denominator here?
And Robbie says it wasn't the defensive fault. It's that Andy Reid ran clutch plays late. True.
Oh yeah, Andy Reid is a freaking genius. You don't think he feasted on Greenlaw going down?
Oh,
he dialed up.
He did.
He targeted his replacement all game long.
He did. He recognized where the weak link was and said, "You know what? Go. Let's just
go get it."
And he's one of those coaches that he's going to keep doing things to you until you show him you can stop it.
Yep.
And he may still do it again after that. So that was definitely on the table out there. So it was really good to be able to see Andy Reid do that. Patrick Mahomes did the same thing. He just played well under pressure. Anthony says, who's a better coach, Bill or Andy?
Hell, you sitting here talking about right now, I'm going with daggone Andy Reid, man. He's got there with what? A couple of different teams in the Super Bowl.
And I will say this. Ever since Tyreek Hill left, the question kept being, what would Kansas City look like after the Cheetah's gone? Mahomes don't have no receivers. Since 2020, Kansas City has been to the Super Bowl 4 times.
Do you know their playoff record with the Cheetah being gone? It's 7-0. 7-0.
That's crazy. Even in years where it didn't look like they quite had enough to win, they won anyway. Remember, They went 11-6. They didn't have the best record in the league. The Ravens out of the AFC had the number 1 seed. They weren't even the number 1 seed. They had to play the first week of the playoffs. The Ravens had 2 more wins than they did. They had just 1 more win than the Houston Texans. So the Chiefs by far had one of their biggest challenging years. Robbie said Tyreek who? Exactly. Exactly. So, this is one of those things, though, when you got Tyreek on the team, well, are the Chiefs good because of Tyreek or are the Chiefs good because of Patrick Mahomes? I think Mahomes answered that question.
Oh, he's clear answer. Clear answer.
Oh, Rand, I wanted to tell you this, too, because I didn't want to finish in my thought about the game. But I was talking to this dude the other day, and he said something that you had intimated on the water cooler before. And I kind of wanted to dig in because I just don't understand these people. Dude was like, "You watch Super Bowl?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't. It's rigged anyway. I said, you know what? Let me entertain this fool for a minute. I said, educate me. How's this game rigged? And he started telling me about a story about a ref that had gotten kicked out of the league years ago, wrote a book, something about how he rigged the game, made calls and things like that. I said, you really think that 53 guys on one side, 53 guys on another side, all these head coaches, position coaches, assistant coaches, all these folks could get together, determine the outcome of a game, and it didn't leak. Nobody said nothing.
In over 30-some years.
I said a lot of these guys have played ball since they were 7, 8 years old, and their one dream is to play in the Super Bowl and hoist the Lombardi Trophy. You mean to tell me that they bought in to a scheme where they are supposed to lose after spending all their life you see these guys emotional, crying, bumping their damn coach, all kind of things because they're playing in the biggest game of their freaking lives. And I said, that's actually disrespectful to those guys that sacrifice and put a lot of their body and everything else on the line.
It's very disrespectful.
To sit there and get to that point. I said, you have to be out of your mind to believe it. And I said, you think all of them got together? This is what he said to me, Rand, when I brought up the 53. He said, no, I'd only take about 5 of them. I had to go. I said, all right, bro. I said, all right, you have a good one.
And see, that's the thing.
Affect the game like that.
These idiots will come forth with stuff like that, and they believe that the game is rigged. But when you ask them and you corner them to give them specific information on things to back up their point, they never give you anything because they can't. They believe it because they believe it. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
They want to believe it, so anything that will give them a reason is good enough, even if it don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I and that's why I pushed them a little bit because I wanted to see, okay, let me see if some gears will start moving. When I kind of give him the whole range of what it would take to rig a game. Well, Vegas got this money and that money. I said, well, Vegas plays odds and stuff like that. I mean, that's all it really comes down to. Vegas ain't sitting there going into the locker room saying, hey, don't win by more than 3. Hey, the total between the 2 scores don't go over 55. What?
First of all, it's Vegas' job. That's what those guys do. They don't have part-time jobs. That's all they do is to figure odds. They're very good at it, just like you would be very good at your job, So these dudes with the whole rigged NFL, that's one thing that's just really starting to drive me crazy, man.
I knew it would, and I couldn't believe I was actually in the presence of somebody that was dead ass. He really believed what he was saying, and that's why I was looking at him like, okay, are you just saying this because you're just trying to mess with me, or do you really believe this? And if you do, where's it coming from? And I said, so you feel like it's rigged. What facts do you have? Well, I don't really have
What
any.
facts do you have? You don't.
It just seems that way. And he just tried to laugh it off. And I'm like, well, hold on now, because that's a hell of an allegation. You kind of got to have something to back that up. You just can't throw that out there in the universe because there's somebody else that'll sit there and not do the research themselves, listen to that foolishness, and then they start believing it. And it's just because somebody else had introduced it or put it out into the air, and now somebody else is believing it. And then when you ask them for, okay, what would lead you to believe that? Do you really understand how a football game works? Or are you just somebody that will turn on a game, watch a game, and think that there's somebody behind the scenes pulling the levers? You really
And
think
that's
that?
what it is. You have the casual fan that watches football and they have an understanding of it. And then you got guys like you and I who have a very good understanding of the inner workings of football. And we, the ones that have the knowledge of the inner workings of football, know there's no way in hell that an NFL season can be rigged. It's just impossible, man.
Impossible.
It's impossible to do that. I mean, and even just removing that and using your logical mind, shouldn't college football be rigged so these guys could get a training on how to perform and how to do rigged football before getting into the professional league? Shouldn't college be rigged then? You know,
Exactly.
it's crazy, man.
Anthony says, I think Kansas City went all the way because of Taylor Swift. Since she's been with Travis, that team has been outstanding. They did kind of look a little different once the two of them kind of linked up and everything. Their season was kind of up and down. Like I said, they lost 6 games, but she kind of stabilized. Maybe they were a little bit more focused. I will give them credit for this, Anthony. That could have went a totally different way if your quarterback wasn't who he was, if your coach wasn't who he was, and if the player in Travis Kelsey wasn't who he was. That could have went south. Could have been a really big distraction. They
Oh,
embraced the
hell yeah.
distractions, and it didn't throw them off at all. I mean, as much as a lot of right wingers and some people in the media made it all about Taylor just because every time Travis did something noteworthy on the field, they were zooming up to see her reaction with Travis's mom, or even the Super Bowl. She had Ice Spice up there with her and stuff like that. You know, Travis wasn't asking them to do that. None of the teams did that. The NFL, look, listen, y'all. I hate to break it to you, but the NFL is about their money and their marketing helps them make more money. This is why the NFL, and we'll go over this momentarily, is a 365-day a year business now. It is not just 6 months out of the year. Hadn't been for a while. There are things that we're going to talk about that's actually coming up in the next couple of weeks that involve the NFL in their off season. They're constantly got things going because these are things that keep people engaged in what's going on in their sport. If zooming in on Taylor Swift for 3 seconds here, 6 seconds there is going to bring more eyeballs to their sport. Damn it, that camera is going to be ready to turn red when the producer says Taylor. That's all
Can
that
you
happens. Travis does something, the producer goes Taylor, and the Taylor cam comes on and lights up. That's what they do.
can't blame them?
Yeah, I
Can't
wouldn't
blame
blame him either.
No.
Anthony also said that Vegas had the game at 47 and a half, and the finale of the score was 47. That is pretty fucking funny. That's pretty good. And he said Swift made Kansas City over $300 million. Yes. And revenue. And guess what? The league splits revenue. So the whole league is indebted to Taylor Swift because there are literally people that watch the game only because they knew she was there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Imagine the sale of Travis Kelsey jerseys between young girls now. It's going to jump through the roof.
You know what? After the show, I'm gonna find out what's the number trending. What's the number one selling jersey right now? It's probably either Mahomes or Kelsey,
Yeah.
or they're in the top 10. But yeah, absolutely. That brings a bigger awareness. This is a league that is going into other markets, whether it's Germany, whether it's London. Now they're going to Brazil. They're going to have a football game in Brazil. They're looking for global eyeballs with the sport. So if and who is a bigger global icon than somebody that's gone on to that basically 24 hours before she was at the Kansas City game was in Tokyo on her tour.
Yeah.
Come on now. The girl bad. She jumped on her jet and said, I'm going to see my man. I
Yeah.
think some of y'all just mad because you can't jump in your jet and go see your significant other like that. But it was hilarious. Yeah, when he told me about the whole thing and stuff, and I'm like, if you really believe 5 players can affect the outcome of a game, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
And that is the whole issue. The majority of the time you hear the rig stuff.
Oh
They
my
don't know
God.
what the hell they're talking about. They
5
never do.
dudes can affect
Never do.
a NFL game. Yeah, you lost me. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, follow his thought process, see if there was anything to be made. He said that some ref had come out with a book about rigging games and he was kicked out of the league and stuff like that. And I'm like, and talking about the mob and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, I understand about throwing boxing matches and stuff like that. It's one player determines the outcome of the game, and things like that. Gets in deep with the mob and ends up dropping his hands and getting knocked out or something like that. I get that, but there's too many inner workings of a football game. And I was like, and then I asked him, I said, so you think the players are just involved, or do you think the coaches are involved? He said, well, it's just the players. I don't think the coaches would get involved in it. And I'm like, well, the coaches call the play. He says, yeah, but they
Makes
don't
no
have to
sense.
run it. I'm just like,
Makes zero
I
sense.
said, that
That
make no
makes
sense.
no sense whatsoever.
I said,
And then
so
you have players out there that are sustaining like life-changing injuries,
right.
MCLs, ACLs,
Heart
Achilles
attacks.
injuries. Yeah, heart attacks too. Just life-changing injuries, and they getting that by fake football. Are you kidding me? Like how?
Yeah, that's
It's
just yeah.
ridiculous, man.
Yeah, this is not world. This ain't wrestling where we rehearse everything. Hey, Carrie, thank you for joining us on Instagram. Hope you're doing, darling. My Brooklyn, my Brooklyn baby up there. What's going on? Um, yeah, it was just absolutely crazy. But yeah, anyway, it was a good Super Bowl overall. Overtime game, 25-22. Much props to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning their third one, right? In 5 years? Is that what
Yeah,
we
three
got?
and five. 3 and 5.
3 and 5. So the biggest question with that, to wrap that part up, is can they use the D word? Can they call themselves a dynasty?
Oh yeah, you get 3 and 5 in today's NFL, you are a dynasty. I
Three and
thought you were
five, but
doing
you went to 4 out of the last 5
yeah,
with that.
you went to actually 4. So yeah, they're definitely a dynasty. And the thing about it is, are they gonna be stopped next year? Because they're going to, of course, go to free agency. They're not really losing any significant pieces. They're gonna have another good draft as they normally do. And Mahomes ain't going nowhere. And Kelsey, which I thought may retire, he ain't going nowhere either.
He
So,
ain't going nowhere now.
um,
I don't
can
even
they
know.
be
I
back?
don't even know if his brother is retiring as he
Yeah, I
is set.
don't even know if Jason's retiring either. But can they be back? Yeah, you could pencil them boys into the playoffs next year, and
Pretty
then we'll
much.
be sitting here seeing what Mahomes could do against this team and that team, and we're probably back in this same conversation again next year, man. I don't see Kansas City going anywhere anytime
Either.
soon.
Hey, Carrie, I'm good. Yes, ma'am. We'll be up in New York at some point soon. I'm gonna bring Rand with me. Try to so we can go catch a Yankees game.
Oh
You
yeah, our
you down?
pinstripe boys are gonna be the bomb this year.
Yeah. Carrie, you down for a Yankees game? But yeah, and the last observation I had too is once again, just like they did against Philadelphia, uh, I think people. She said, "Okay, cool." Um, I think people a lot of times forget that Patrick Mahomes can run if he needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. Not the fastest guy in the world, but he uses his legs extremely effectively.
Did you know that Mahomes actually outrushed Pacheco? Pacheco
Wow.
rushed 18 times for 59 yards. Mahomes rushed half as many times, 9 for 66 yards.
I did not know. Oh well, yeah, he had that
Yeah,
one long run. I forgot
we
about that.
we broke right straight through the middle, and he just
Yeah,
took off. And then he was like, "I'm not going down."
yeah,
He like, "I ain't sliding." I was like, "Damn, okay, okay, my homie." So yeah, 9 rushes, 66 yards, 7.3 per. Pacheco, 18 for 59, 3.3 per.
yeah,
So your best rusher was your quarterback.
yeah.
And he doesn't do that a lot during the regular season. Remember he did it on a fourth down play where they only needed a yard or two and he took off
Mm-hmm.
because they don't expect him to run, so they don't put a spy on him or anything like that. And those are times when he will actually literally kill you with his legs.
And how many dropbacks have you seen with Patrick Mahomes where a defender is flying right at him and you like, oh, that's a sack. And he
Mhm,
just does this subtle move to the left or subtle move to the right, but doesn't evade the pocket. He still got his eyes downfield.
mhm.
And right before he gets hit, he lets the ball go and it's a long completion downfield. I mean, he's really, really good with his legs.
Another good thing with that too, two things. I saw him a lot of times climb the pocket, which when you climb the pocket, you almost, well, not almost, you negate the speed of the defensive ends because now they're coming to where you were.
Yeah.
Now you step up and they're behind you and you've negated their speed because now they got to stop,
And
regather, and try to come
readjust.
back up to you. And you've bought yourself more time in the readjusted pocket. I saw him do that time after time. The last thing I'll say about being in a pocket, Brock Purdy, you a man. You a grown ass man. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is I was even because my wife watched the game with me and I said, watch this dude give his body up every time he throws the ball, literally going through his progressions, waiting until the absolute last second to let that ball go.
Yeah. He's
Knowing
been
that,
taking some big hits.
knowing that he gonna take the hit and will get right back up. I don't know how many of them I watched him where he literally dropped back, went through his progressions and his reads, got it to the guy he was supposed to get it to, or at least was driving the ball to that person, whether it was a completion or not, but literally taking hit after hit, um, just to be able to buy the guys enough time to get the ball. I mean, grown man, just a grown man. I'll give him credit on that. So, all in all, great Super Bowl. Ran halftime show. We had Usher sitting there giving it up for the city of Atlanta. Had a couple people out there. Had Alicia Keys. I don't know why everybody's sitting there wanting to know why Swiss Beats ain't wanting to beat Usher's ass. They're performers, y'all. If you see any of Usher's residencies, he is always wrapping his arms around a female because that is the performance of Usher. He ain't sitting there trying to cop Alicia Keys, even though I would, but he ain't trying to do that. He ain't trying to. Her and Switch Beats is good. Y'all stop
Yeah.
trying to mess with that man marriage. He know who his wife is. He hitting it. He good. Y'all ain't got to worry about that. Usher was no threat. Matter of fact, congratulations to Usher and his longtime fiance. They actually got married right before the game in Atlanta.
Yep. I was wrong on the opening act. I don't think anybody got that one. Him
Nope.
opening up with the one that he opened. I can't remember the name, but it's not a very popular song.
No.
Not one of his most popular ones. But I was right with the closer, daggone it. Should have bet me some money on that one. And that
Mhm.
one brought the house down. That
Oh
one brought
yeah.
the house down.
I saw your post on water cooler, and you were absolutely right. If you don't like R&B to begin with, or you're not really an Usher fan, you probably thought it was just okay. I did see some people on my post saying, I felt like Usher, Jermaine, what Jermaine says, the only one that breaks up marriages is Alicia Keys.
Ooh. Damn.
Well, he I'm sorry, Jermaine. I wasn't ready for that. So let me just read it again. The only one that breaks up marriages is Alicia Keys. Damn. Yeah. And matter of fact,
oh, that's gotta hurt.
It definitely does kind of hurt. But yeah, that's pretty good, Jay. I appreciate that. But yeah, it was good to me. I thought it was a really good halftime show. He incorporated Jackson State Marching Band, so there was a HBCU in Atlanta. Um, he had Jermaine Dupri, who for some reason wanted to have some ruffled socks on. He had Ludacris. Her came out playing the guitar. She slashed that guitar. That was great. It was just a lot of good stuff that he threw into 15 minutes.
It was a good Super Bowl performance. I put it top 5, man. I put it top 5.
And I knew the skates was gonna come out. Do you know how hard it is to do dance moves in skates and not bust your ass?
Tremendously entertaining show, man. It really was. And like I said, like we said, he's got the catalog to do such. I mean, all them songs were hits. Some of them that he cut, I wanted him to keep on playing. It's like, keep that one going.
Robbie said her was badass. She is, man. She is a hell of a musician. People talk about her being a vocalist. She is a hell of a musician.
Yes, good guitarist.
Yeah, great guitarist. Yeah, absolutely. So I enjoyed it for what it was. It just wasn't enough time. People got to realize 2 things. They don't get paid at all. Apple spends $50 million to promote and help produce the Super Bowl, but Usher doesn't get paid any of that. Now, Usher's no fool. Usher made sure that I think it was this past Friday, he opened up ticket sales for his upcoming tour. He's doing arena tours, and he will be coming to Charlotte, I think, in October or September, something like that. And the ladies know they can help. They know.
They know
because they already done told me that they're gonna be giving up their money. Between Usher and Beyonce about to drop another album out at the end of March. They ready to spend all their money. But I think it was a great halftime show. There were a lot of good commercials that I saw. I told my wife, I said, I feel like the commercials kind of came back this year. They've been kind of weak sauce a couple of years before, but I saw some that I'm not gonna lie, I was dying laughing. And the other thing that I noticed too is just the combination of star talent that they were putting in these ads. Like I don't know if you saw the Dunkin' Donuts ad with Jennifer Lopez back there with Fat Joe in the recording booth, and then had Ben Affleck in the car with Jack Harlow. Then he comes in with Matt Damon and Tom Brady's the DJ and stuff. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah,
there were a lot of good commercials.
Everybody wants a part of the Super Bowl, man. Even if it's commercials, when they hear it's going to be a Super Bowl commercial, stars will say yeah to that. I had some people like asking me, did they think that Usher, he's gonna do at his performance. You think Little John's gonna be there? Hell yeah, Little John's gonna be there.
Gonna do
He ain't about to miss the performance. He ain't about to miss a chance to play on no Super Bowl stage. So not only was he there, I mean, Usher had the whole crew there.
And and the other thing too is it does highlight some of those other artists that in and of themselves aren't going to get to be able to do a Super Bowl.
Exactly what I'm talking about, and that would be Little John.
Yeah, they're not going to say, "Hey, Little John," and again, Usher has to come out of pocket for that whole production. Okay, how many groups can come out of their pockets for production like that? So keep that in mind when you're sitting there talking about, man, I wish this group would get invited and this group would get invited. They're not paying them to come do it.
No,
it's already said. If you're going to come, you're going to have to look to spend X amount of $1 million on production because we're not putting in on it. Y'all going to have to do it. Wait, what? That cancels out a whole bunch of performers right there.
Along with the catalog of hits, you got to have a catalog of hits that's going to fill up that time frame. Exactly. We ain't talking about one big time hit and then a bunch of B-sides that only their fans know. That's not going to entertain the masses. Super Bowl is for entertaining the masses.
Exactly, because you got to remember, again, they don't want anybody to turn the channel for a second. That's why even with the commercials, and I'm the first one, it was hard for me to go to the damn bathroom because I didn't want to miss a commercial.
Yeah.
Because I saw how good that one. I was like, damn, that commercial was good. Let me see if I can just go in here and boop, 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 and come back real quick and catch it and stuff like that. I didn't want to miss the commercial. I can't remember the last time I was that engaged because I'm like, that stuff I ain't gonna buy. I ain't gonna buy no damn Dunkin' Donut biscuits and coffee. But I wanted to sit there. Robbie said I turned it up. Right? Oh, for the commercial, so you could at least hear it. Yeah, my bathroom close enough too for that. I might have to just go to step 2 and just go ahead and put that TV in the bathroom though. But I can already see my wife now, like, nah, because you'll never leave. You barely leave now, which is true. So that might just be one more reason to get comfortable up in there. But it was really that good. So I love that. So guys, the NFL season. You turned it up for Usher. Oh yeah, I did that too. I definitely turned it up, being in the bathroom. Anyway, also the NFL season is overran, but we got some other things too. The NFL honors came out on that Thursday right before the game, and we were predicting who was going to be the most valuable player. We got that right. It was Lamar Jackson. Lamar actually thanked the Ravens for getting his contract together. That wasn't a surprise. The biggest surprise to me, well, one of the biggest, was Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski with the Browns. It shouldn't have been. I figured he'd be in the running, but I kind of still felt like Dan Campbell, D'Amico Ryans would have kind of been more the obvious picks. And they were in the running as well, but they eventually gave it to Stefanski because he did do a great job with the Browns this season through a lot of adversity, having to change the quarterback about 18 times. So,
yeah, the honors, they kind of lost credibility once they did what they did with my man TJ Watt.
Yeah, that I was shocked. Defensive Player of the Year did not go to TJ Watt. It went to Myles Garrett.
Yeah. So yeah, they could keep that mess, man. Honors.
Offensive Player of the Year, of course, was McCaffrey. Comeback Player of the Year was Joe Flacco. I'm okay with those. Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud. Defensive Rookie of the Year, his teammate Will Anderson. I'm okay with that. Moment of the year was CeeDee Lamb's catch versus the Lions. NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year went to Cam Hayward of the Steelers. So he actually got that, which was good. And the biggest thing with the honors ran, honestly, is the announcement of the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. All guys that I've seen play outside the senior picks. Dwight Freeney, back from his days as an Indianapolis Colt. Devin Hester, the king of kickoff returns. Andre Johnson, just catch anything you throw his way for the Houston Texans, right?
Oh yeah,
beast. Hard to bring down, yards after catch, just absolutely ridiculous. JP, Julius Peppers from old Bailey, North Carolina.
Yep, the first true Carolina Panther to get in during his playing days, and no disrespect to Sam Mills when I say that, but Julius spent the majority of his career in Carolina.
And then you have Patrick Willis, Cardinals.
Patrick Willis was a
49er.
Yes, 49er.
Okay. So saw all these guys play. Great class. I mean, and then I didn't see Randy Gradishar play or Steve McMichael play. Don't know too much about those guys. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely a great class that we'll see inducted in July. So we got that going on. Other things that we got going on. Oh, I don't know why that's in there twice. The rest of the season ran. So what goes on now that the season is over? Well, the NFL doesn't stop because they constantly want eyeballs on their league. So yes, the Super Bowl has already come and gone, but we got Combine coming February the 27th through March the 4th. So the Scout Combine will be right back in Indianapolis, where you'll see all of the upcoming draft picks out there running their 40s and doing their jumps and everything else. You're going to see all of that.
Then you got free agency, baby. Free agency.
March 5th. March 5th is the first day players can be designated transition or franchise.
Yep. And the NFL is a genius because it gets us just as excited about things like this as almost the beginning of the daggone season. I am extremely excited about the build of the Carolina Panthers and the build of the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Free agency starts March 5th, like you were saying. Yep. Let's see what pieces that Carolina's going to get. See what pieces my Pittsburgh Steelers going to get. I can't wait for it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Then March 11th, free agency tampering period starts. There's a whole week where agents can start negotiating with teams. They can't sign anything until the new year starts on March 13th. So there's no ball that's going to drop. There's not going to be a bunch of fireworks, but March 13th is a new year for the NFL. That is the first day of the 2024 season. During this time, players can then start to sign contracts and things like that. Then the NFL has their annual meetings in March. Then they jump until April. They start doing mini camps and things like that in April. First-year coaches or coaches that have just been hired to a new team get to start on April the 1st. Then returning head coaches get to start on April the 15th for off-season workouts, rather, not the mini camps. A lot of stuff like that happens. Then April the 25th through the 27th in Detroit. You already know.
All about it.
NFL draft, the 25th through the 27th.
Yep, you know how I do my breakdown every year on who I think my Steelers are going to take, who I think the Panthers are going to take.
Your analysis are so spot on most of the time. It's scary. It's almost like you go in straight GM mode and you just break it down based on what they need and the skilled players that are out there, and you be on it.
I'll be on it. I told the world that the Steelers were going to take George Pickens, and I said Pickens was going to dominate, and I was not wrong.
You weren't wrong at all. I mean, just craziness. And I will say, it's easy to pick the number one pick a lot of times. Not an exact science, but the Steelers rarely will have a number one pick because they normally do well enough in the season that they're like in the upper teens, low 20s, sometimes mid 20s and stuff like that. I mean, hell, a lot of stuff can happen between 1 and 22, 1 and 26.
You got to do your homework.
You got to do your homework. That is some crazy stuff, man. So, and then once you get into May, that's when you got some of the spring meetings and things like that start. June comes around, you got more OTAs. July comes around, you got mini camps. August comes around, you got preseason. My wife was like, "Man, this is your last game of the season, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And the new season starts in exactly 5 months. I'm sorry, 6 months. 6 months. Starts in 6 months as far as the next show. It's going to be about, a 1 week short because we'll start a week early, but it's literally 6 months from now when we'll start the next season of Head to Head. That is absolutely cray-cray.
What do you let's talk a little bit of Carolina Panthers, man. Like what do you want to see happen? I could tell you the first move that I want to see Carolina make myself is I want to see them sign and trade Brian Burns and get into a position where they have a top 20 pick in the first round.
Same. It's their only opportunity. You know, you don't have any other card to play. That's
No.
your only card. Trade him because he's more valuable not on the team now than he is on the team.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do that. You got to get yourself in a position to make a play in this draft. If it's to get a quarterback, I mean, you're gonna have to. If you can get in the top 20, is there a way for you to move up enough to be able to fight for one of these top tier quarterbacks and let them in Bryce? I don't think they're going to give up on Bryce Young like that. I don't think that's their plan. I think their
Yeah.
plan though is to get back into the first round to get some kind of tackle or something to be around him. I don't know what they're going to do with Icky. He regressed this past year. I don't know if they're going to sit there and look for a person that they can slide into that position, even if that means sliding him over or putting him more as a rotational. Don't know what that's going to look like. Or are they going to put him on Bryce Young's strong side instead of his blind side? Or are they going to switch him from left to right? Who knows?
Yeah.
He got on that left side too much for me.
Yeah. All of that good stuff is yet to be determined, but it's all going to be so interesting just to sit back and watch. And we got new guys pulling the triggers with this stuff, man, which is also going to be extremely interesting. We got, Mr. Canales, the head football coach, who's going to be in on these deals. We got a new GM in Dan Morgan. I'm really interested to see how Dan Morgan puts together this roster from a free agency and a draft standpoint, as opposed to what Scott Fitterer has done over these past few years. I want to see the improvement, and I think Dan is going to be the man for that. He wasn't just hired specifically because he's an old Panther. I mean, Dan Morgan knows what the hell he's doing. He really does. So,
yeah. Dan reminds me so much of Luke Kuechly. They played the same position, but they were not just good football players. What made them good football players wasn't so much of their physical acumen. It was their mental ability to sit there and be able to read and diagnose plays.
that's right.
There's no better student of the game at middle Mike linebacker position that I've ever seen than Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, extremely smart.
I mean, just smart. Dan Morgan was kind of Luke Kuechly before Luke Kuechly, where he was just the guy that just could sniff out the ball, could almost be there before it was handed off to the running back. He already knew where he was going. He'd be the first person to tackle. He's going to look for guy, and he's been around. He hadn't just been tucked away at Carolina as an honorary position guy. He was in Seattle for a while. He's been some other places,
Exactly.
doing a lot of different roles, working on his craft and everything. Basically, waiting for his opportunity to show that he can be a general manager. I want him to take risk. I want him to expect tenacity on both sides of the ball, aggressiveness, no more
That's what I'm talking about.
playing it safe crap and playing not to lose, not playing to win kind of mentality that I've seen so many times. A lot of teams fall into that trap that they don't want to take chances because if they get it wrong, they don't want to face the fire. I think Dan Morgan is somebody that will embrace that. Quite frankly, I hope that between him and Canales, they are more the ones in front of the camera than Dave Tepper. I would like to forget that Dave Tepper owns the team, not because I got anything totally against Tepper, but you're an owner. You need to sit there and let your guys be the front of the face. And when given the opportunity to speak during Canales's introductory press conference, Tepper deferred and said, "I'm in the background now." So hopefully that means that somebody has gotten to him and said, "You need to slow your damn roll and just sign the checks."
Absolutely. And I think he's done that. And I think he's heard that loud and clear. I mean, just the hiring of Canales himself. I mean,
Yep.
Canales is no big name coach. If we would have went and got a Belichick, I would have said, oh, yeah, Tepper, that's a Tepper hire right there.
Yep. It's going to be a circuit.
Tepper knows nothing about Canales, man.
Right.
So that was something that GM Dan Morgan did. That's his hire. It's got his handprint all over it. And as far as Dan Morgan is concerned, he said the right thing already that's got me fired up and on board with him. Dan Morgan said when it comes to his eye for football talent and what he's looking for, He's looking to bring dogs to Carolina. He's looking to bring back the era of keep pounding and players that are as hard fought and as gritty as he was when he played. And you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Linebackers such as God, what's his name? He had three ACL injuries and still
Thomas
kept playing at high level.
Yeah,
Thomas Davis. He's looking for players and dogs like that, man. And we do need to get back to those days.
Got to. I always said Mike Minner was one of the hardest hitting safeties I ever seen in my life for his size. Would just go out there. Back when you had him and Rucker and oh Lord, now I can't think of my man's name. Not Hardy. It'll come back to me. Those guys, they were just relentless. Pep out there, yeah. Thomas Davis, all those guys. It was just keep pounding. Never give up. When Smitty was gritty out there, telling people, ice up, son. All that kind of stuff. Just having that edge. Who is a receiver out there that has that edge like Smitty that'll sit there and get in somebody's face and tell them to ice up? You got nobody out there that will do that. Ain't no dogs out there.
Ain't no dogs out there, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Frankie Louvu's about the only dog on the defense.
Yeah. Louvu will hit you in the mouth. Yeah, he really will, unapologetically. That's true. But yeah, you got to have that, and you know what? It's got to be contagious. Even guys that come to the team that ain't really how they played before. When they around these other guys, they almost get into that persona because that's what the team's persona is. You got a bunch of dogs out there. I want to see. You know what? If you're gonna ride with Bryce Young, I know you watched the show. You better become a dog.
You better be a dog yourself.
You better be the biggest dog out there. You the smallest person by size, but you better be the biggest dog out there. When
puff that chest out a little bit.
When people step foot at Bank of America Stadium, that need to be your house. How dare they think they got a chance to win?
That's right. You got to get back to those days.
You need to put that out of their mind as soon as they get there. This your house.
Yeah.
I need to see that dog in you, Bryce. You too nice. You know what? Nice guys are gonna finish on the couch during the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes might seem like a nice guy, but he'll take your heart out and show it to you.
He's a killer on the field.
Killer.
Yep. We need to get back to the days of like when keep pounding meant something to this city.
Yeah.
Like they bring out all these stars and celebrities now and former players to pound the bass drum before the game starts, but it really doesn't mean anything anymore. It's more of a show than anything else. We need to get back to where keep pounding means exactly what it's
Let me come out there and pound that damn drum.
Yep.
Matter of fact, that's what they need to do. They need to do some kind of fan lottery and have the fan come out there and do it.
I'm about to take that head and beat it in.
Oh my God.
Let's go. Let's go.
Wake up. Let's go. Absolutely. I'm optimistic every year only because I say this every single year. The NFC South can be had any given year. It is just that type of division where you need to be a 12, 13 win team to take hold of that vision. 10 wins will do it most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 10-7. That ain't a lot to ask.
Yeah, they've kind of waited so long now that I think Atlanta will be a problem, depending on who they get at quarterback, though. But I think Atlanta will be a major problem next year.
That is going to be a problem.
We'll see.
That's going to be a problem. But you know how those division games go.
That's right.
They can be some of the most gritty, most competitive. They throw the records out the door. A lot of these teams are within a couple of hours of each other. They know each other, stuff like that. So, you know, we'll see. I think Canales is going to come in and have the ability, depending on how Tepper responds. If his relationship with Dan Morgan can be more collaborative, they can have a good chance. Again, I'm not going to go on the limb and predict them to win the NFC South. I just want to see some competitive football. I want to look like these players give a damn, look like these coaches know what the hell they doing, making adjustments and stuff like that, and let the owner realize, hey, we don't need to see your face. We know you on the team.
And can we get Bryce Young to at least look functional? Please.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just about out of hope with him already, but I'm hoping that, maybe with some stable guard play and some stable left tackle play and a run game and some weapons, that he'll be a lot better than what he looked like last year. Because to be honest, I'd like to just forget last year even happened.
Right, but you know what?
It was terrible.
San Francisco did one of the most craziest things a couple years ago. They gave up 3 number 1 picks to go get Trey Lance. They got rid of him, sent him to Dallas, and they still went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because they realized they made a mistake. And instead of just holding on to that mistake because of what you gave up to get him, you went ahead and you moved in a different direction. And it didn't ultimately mess up your trajectory. You still got to the big game, regardless. Panthers,
good point.
It's okay to say we made a mistake.
Right.
Now, am I ready to say that yet? Even though I've called him a bust? No. But my point is, Bryce has all of mini camps, OTAs, training camp to show you he's that dude. If he doesn't, if Andy Dalton or anybody else comes in and shows you that they are worthy of starting on day one, damn it, that's who you start.
Yes.
We don't need to see Bryce Young because he got a fully guaranteed contract. He was the number 1 pick, yada, 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 yada. Brock Purdy was number 2 freaking 39.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where you're drafted. It matters how you play. That's it. Jermaine says, damn, Rand, if they get all that, then I could play. That boy is a bust as a number 1 pick. And
I completely agree. I completely 100% agree with you. And I say that, Jermaine, because that's what you always hear all these other national pundits say. Oh, he needs this, he needs that, he needs that, and he needs this.
But wasn't that the whole point of you being the first pick?
Exactly.
You need all of that.
My opinion is you shouldn't need all of that if you're the number 1 pick. You should come in and you should elevate what's there.
And here's the funny part, Rand.
Is he a bust to my opinion? Yep. Until he changes my mind. Yep.
Here's the funny part with that, Rand. When you say, well, Brock Purdy got McCaffrey and Kittle and IU and Debo, he's a game manager. But you telling me that your number 1 draft pick got to have the same stuff.
Yeah, you got to have all that.
He's successful. So what the hell that make him?
Yeah, you got to have all that.
That going to make him a game manager? Baker had one of the best years in his life because he had all this around him. That makes him a game manager too, right?
Yeah. When I see a number 1 pick at quarterback position, I want a daggone Burrow, a dude that comes into a losing situation, a team that's historically been a cellar dweller in the North, and he elevates the entire offense up to the point where they're talking Super Bowls and have gotten to a Super Bowl because of his play. That's what I want to see out of a number 1 pick.
CJ Stroud.
Stroud. Give me a CJ Stroud.
I mean, you can sit there and you look at what CJ did in the AFC South. Hell, he had Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Tennessee rightfully that should have been ahead of them in everything. Yeah. And they won the damn division.
Elevation. Even Cam Newton came to this Carolina Panther team and they were 1-15 or 2-14 the year before. Yep. His first year, I think he had them at 5-11. The next year after that, 6-10, but not too much further after that, 15-1 and to the Super Bowl. And he has some of the most piss poor wide receivers to do it with outside of Steve Smith. I don't think Smith was on that team though.
When that was Funches and Fat Boy.
Exactly. So Cam Newton elevated that entire team into the Super Bowl. And that's what I want as a number 1 pick out of a quarterback position. You ain't hear no Cam Newton needs this and Cam Newton needs that.
Right.
You ain't near hear none of that mess, man.
And what was that stat of him being hit more than any quarterback during that time, and he still got them boys ready to play.
Still got him to the daggone.
Still got him in the game. There ain't nobody say, man, it'd be really good. We can get him an offensive tackle. He ain't had one since Jordan Gross retired. Never heard that.
No.
Never heard that.
No, they didn't make them excuses for Cam. So I ain't trying to hear these excuses for Bryce, man.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that mess.
Yeah, let that go. Let that go. So yeah, we got the draft coming up real soon. So all of those positions have been locked in. I definitely have had a heck of a season just going through these games, watching certain teams go up, certain teams go down, being able to just go ahead and let Cowboy fans, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know one thing certain. You ain't going to the Super Bowl next year. Next thing I want to let you Cowboy fans know is no, next year is not your year. And lastly, I got this one friend of mine that's a Cowboys fan. He's been on the show. I just find it hard when you're posting memes about San Francisco losing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you ain't been to one in 3 damn decades.
That's what I'm saying, man. Do not try to pull San Francisco down to y'all's level. It doesn't work.
How do you even wrap your mind around the fact that you got anything to say about San Francisco going to the Super Bowl?
Exactly.
And you ain't been to the NFC Championship game in 29 years. Might as well go ahead and say 30, because damn it, you ain't doing it next year neither. Let's go for an even 30.
And the thing about San Francisco, en route to their NFC championships and Super Bowls over the last couple of years, they've gone through you guys to get there. So what are y'all talking about right now, man?
They want misery to love.
My God.
No, you got to punch down. You can't punch up. I'm sorry.
Yes.
If you want to, y'all want to sit there and troll the Giants fans and the Commanders fans,
I'll sign off.
Have at it. Have at it. Absolutely. Go for it. But you can't even say nothing to Panthers fans, because like I keep trying to remind y'all, we've been to 2 Super Bowls since 1995, the last time y'all went.
Yep.
That's like arguing who was first person to be last. No, it's not. That ain't arguing that.
No, man.
That's just simply saying.
It's just simply saying the
You
fact.
gotta be there to have the opportunity. If you don't make the playoffs, you don't have an opportunity for the Super Bowl. That's common sense. If you lose a playoff game, you don't have an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. The biggest game of the year you want to play in. Is anybody going to remember who was the runner-up? Maybe not. All right, Rob. Did they win? No, but they were there.
They were there. And they get hardwood for being there.
Did they win? No. Did they have a chance to win? The answer is yes. Now, look, I don't give out moral victories, but I do have to realize 2 things ain't the same. 2 things don't have to be the same. Everybody's goal at the beginning of a year is to get to the Super Bowl. Almost is not good enough.
Almost is better than nothing, though.
Look, almost isn't good enough, but when you ain't been there in 29 years, can you really be the one to sit there and critique another team?
No.
It's been 29 years.
It doesn't work like that, brother.
You can't say almost isn't good. It isn't good enough when every year you do enough in the regular season, and then when the lights get bright, the palms get sweaty, the ball get heavier, you fall over. Miss by an inch, miss by a mile. See,
I know plenty of Cowboy fans that will sign up for some almost right now, because they've had way too many years of absolutely nothing.
Same team when they blow somebody out in September and October, everybody popping the champagne and hugging each other, ticker tape parade and every damn thing else. Then you get to the postseason, Did they win? Well, motherfucker, y'all just won in October, and you act like it was February.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. Do it on the gun range, same concept. This ain't about firing guns, CJ. Stop it. See, you being that delusional Cowboy fan. Stop it.
Yeah. I'd rather be invited to the gun range, though. You know, I'd rather have my invitation to be there.
It's about being invited to the party. You can't even get through you can't even get through the front door.
Talking about firing and missing a daggone gun range.
Yeah.
You can't even get invited.
Look, that's like me being a finalist on The Bachelorette with Janet Jackson. And it started out with 32 dudes, and I'm in the final 2. Now, if I ain't the one to end up getting Janet, can I at least be the one to say, I was the runner-up to getting JJ? That ain't a bad thing to be able to say. Did you get it? No, but I was like the next dude. Now, how many millions of dudes around the world would say, bro, I would have rather been you for a minute there because you at least had a chance. I had no shot. Look, the Super Bowl, when it comes to the Super Bowl and the Cowboys, y'all just don't have a shot in getting to Janet Jackson. That's it. I mean, next shot y'all got is at the day after Jerry Jones passed away. That's all I'm going to tell you. Talking junk about me not getting in the VIP when you outside of the club is crazy.
Exactly.
You got bottle service. You got hair-cutting girls with their cakes handing out, and you in the cold talking about check the list one more time. I know.
Oh my God, that is classic. Classic. Jermaine, you have been on fire. Way to end the year, bro. Way to end the year.
Thank y'all for letting me go on 7-minute overtime with this Cowboys fan. But I'm going to end it. He ain't going to get my blood up because this is what they do every freaking single year. Y'all have
Jermaine Parker saved the day.
Came in and just went ahead and put a nice wrapping on this wonderful Cowboy gift. I appreciate you, bro.
Let me in. I'm on the list. I'm on the list.
Look again. I know I'm there. Look again. See if it's under Dak. See if it's under Jerry. No, we don't see no Dak on this list.
Check it again.
Check the list from 29 years ago.
Check it again.
I see Irvin and Aikman. Go get one of them so they can walk you in. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that one. But thanks y'all for tuning in this season. We will be back. Like I said, we've been renewed for a new season. Talk to the executives and they're good for it. We look to bring you more in-depth analysis, commentary, and all of the fun that goes along with us. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be on all of those same platforms at the beginning of preseason next year, season 5 for us. Rand, thanks for another great year on the ride and everything. Do appreciate it. We can only keep getting better and better and better. And we'll do that with you guys' help. Y'all have a great, safe off season. And we will look forward to seeing y'all again right back here next year. Take care, y'all.